Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Big Bite Baits. We're here on Monday as usual, Jordan, and everything's good. It's still hot in Alabama, and we're trying to we're geared down to the fall, and we haven't quite gotten there yet. And everybody's just itchy because we're tired of being run off by mosquitoes and sweating all the time. So basically, it's kind of been that time of the year. So we're all just waiting for the fall. So I just want to touch on a few things today. First thing, I normally do something on clothing, so let's talk about upcoming falls coming up. Talk about our beanies. Something that we have that you can wear in the fall and then on into the winter. It's a real comfortable item. You can do it in a mossy oak camo, or you can do it just a black. The mossy oak one has a little bigger big bite symbol on it than the other one, but they're both, I would recommend either one of them. They're very soft, and I wear them myself, so they wear really well. So something, and the price point is very economical. So something to look at. They're in our catalog and online if you'd be interested in buying one. So get you one for hunting season, or just get you one for general principle, whichever you'd like. But I want to mention the beanie today. Okay. Questions, Jordan? We got a couple of lingering from our last show because we didn't talk last week because of Labor Day. Actually, we wasn't at work, so we had to skip a week. So we're back now today. What do we have that's kind of lingering that we might want to touch on?
Yeah, I got several. I have a 3-part question for you from Jeremy Deloach is wondering.
All right, Jeremy.
Your go-to color for jigs and jig trailers for muddy, stained, or clear water?
Well, that's a good question. What I would probably do in muddy type water, I like to use some type of real dark bait like a black and blue or maybe a black neon trailer on a black and blue type jig, something that's very dark, maybe a black and blue on a hematoma, just something along those lines. And then so let's say stained or slightly stained water, I'll go to the green pumpkin colors, like the tilapia magic, on those type of colors. And then for the clear water, a lot of people would probably come up with some type of clear bait. I kind of like watermelon red the best in clear water, so that would be kind of how I would attack that for sure.
Okay, good answers. Let's see, how about let's go to Camden F. He's wondering if we make a Magnum fluke bait.
We do. We happened to view the question about 5 minutes before the show came on, so we bolted over to the warehouse and grabbed. We do have a Magnum bait for you. We have a 7-inch jointed jerk minnow that's a Magnum type, fluke type bait that you might be interested in looking at. I believe those, Jordan, if I'm not mistaken, are in the catalog, and they're also online. So check that out if you want something big, heavy, and meaty. There it is, no doubt.
There you go.
We got prepared today, didn't we?
We did.
So good.
I'll give you one more real quick from Owen Brown.
Yeah.
He's wondering what's the best pond baits you suggest for fall.
Well, I'm going to tell you what, my experience, and I used to fish ponds a lot back in the day. I'm just going to be truthful and honest. I like a rattle bait in a pond in the fall. A rattle trap or a red-eye shad, some kind of rattle bait. I'm not saying a plastic getting good, but I always did real well on a rattle bait. So for once, I'm going to cross my fingers and tell the truth, definitely, for sure.
Okay, that's it for right now. You can go ahead.
Okay, well, I thought today, we talk about a finesse worm a little bit. That's something we have two varieties of here at Big Bite Bait. We have a 6-inch model and an 8-inch model. The interesting thing about the two is most anglers fish them totally different. And I think that's kind of unique. So I'm going to start off and talk a little bit about our 6-inch finesse worm. It comes in 20 colors, and there's really a color that will meet any kind of needs you might want there. We've got muddy watercolors, clear watercolors. We've got bright colors, we've got subdued colors. There's colors there with lots of flake. There's colors that are just like a plain, like a black or green pumpkin, that type of format. So there's a lot. I think we have a finesse worm that will meet every angler's needs. And typically, if you had to ask 9 out of 10 anglers, they would probably tell you that they fish a finesse worm on a shaky head. And this is our BBTW jig head with the screw-on head. And it's on a 6-inch watermelon red finesse worm, which is a really good shaky type bait. You get your spinning reel out, tie it on it, fish it light. You can get it down real light and fish it real finesse style. And that's the way most people would tell you to fish it. But I'm going to throw you a little curve. An old school guy like me, I might tell you I like to fish the finesse worm on a Carolina rig. Works real well out in the summer. And one thing that both these rigs have in common that I would recommend is to dip the tail in dye or to use a dye pen and put a little chartreuse on the tip if you'd like to. I think that helps increase your bite somewhat. But that's the way I would recommend fishing our 6 one. This particular one's in pumpkin seed, which is a good old school color, so I did it on an old school rig. But that's the way I would recommend someone to fish it, maybe a little differently than doing it on a shaky head, which is more popular this day and age. That's 2 ways I want to share. And there are other ways, obviously, you could fish this finesse worm, you actually it'd be a really good bait to drop shot and do some other type things with. But that's kind of some of the things I'd recommend. So then you look at our 8-inch finesse worm. Now you're talking about a whole different monster, okay? And actually, up until about 3 years ago or so, I didn't even fish this bait. And then I fell in love with it. And I know a lot of my friends like it as well. We catch a lot of fish on it. It comes in 15 colors. And same as the 6-inch, there's a color there for every type of water that you might want to fish. But when I start thinking about the big finesse worm, finesse just kind of goes out of my mind. I don't know what it is to finesse that worm. I mean, I know people that drop shot this big old worm, now believe it or not, but I like to fish in 2 types of power setups. And that's the way that I like. I fish mostly deep during the summer, and I'm gonna give you 2 ways to fish on 2 different type jigs. So the first one I've got rigged up is a green pumpkin, and it's on our BBTW head, which is a 1/2 ounce fin twist head, and it's got a 3/0 hook in it, and it has a wire type hook, which isn't quite as heavy duty, but that's a way to go deep with it and fish it on a heavy type lead. And the other way to fish it is on our mag head. Now this is the way I really like to fish it, okay? And our mag head has a more beefed up, I think it's a 6 or 7/0 hook in it, and it's a heavy super line hook, and that's the way to fish it out deep. So you got some anglers who like what I call an anvil head, and you've got some anglers who like the ball type head. So you can take your choice. The 2 jigs are pretty much similar, just this one has a little bit better hook than this one. But that's the 2 ways to fish that out deep. Colors, green pumpkin, Texas red, plum apple. A lot of guys like just the black one. The June bug candy does real well. The watermelon red. That's just a few of the colors I would recommend. But if I had to grab one, I'd probably grab 2. I'd grab a plum apple and a green pumpkin Texas red would be the 2 that I would grab first. They seem to be the 2 I have the most luck on. But now that's a way to fish power finesse fishing. That's a way to do it. So that's some information about our finesse worms today I wanted to share. And if you have any questions on that, feel free to contact us. So we got anything coming in that somebody's wanting to know about it? Let's talk about it in a minute.
We do. Somebody's asking about that color. Is that Crete's Magic?
That's Crete's Magic. That is. We took that off our shaking squirrel and we put it into our FW8, and it's available as well online. It's a good looking color and it works really well. You can pick that up. Actually, it comes in like I told you earlier, about 20 colors. And we did add a couple new colors several years back. We added the black, we added the June bug candy, we added the bruised melon. I mean, there's just a lot of different color variations in it. I think that you'll be successful or be happy with.
Okay, so he's wondering what would be your favorite time or condition to throw that Crete's Magic?
I normally fish the Crete Special. I would fish it at the same time as I fish the colors that I would like. That's a summertime color to me.
Okay.
I would fish that, say, from May through the end of September. And then when the water begins to cool down, I will change and do something a little differently.
Okay, here's a good question.
All right, good, man. Bring it on. Good.
Jaron Price is wondering what depth you like to fish when the water temps get to the low 70s.
Low 70s. Okay, that means the water's starting to cool off, and if it's in the spring, that means the water's starting to move up. So I normally are going to fish. I fish a little bit shallower. Say from I'll fish somewhere from 6 to 8 feet and into shallow water, which can be as much as 2 foot. I think the fish in the cooler times of the year, they relegate to shallow water better. So as a result, that's the type of water I would attack for that type of situation. And I wouldn't necessarily always use the plastic in that situation too. You can use like chatterbaits, spinner baits, moving baits, crankbaits, all different varieties of things, because those fish are in what I call a shorter water column. They're not deep. You can even sometimes get them up on top, especially in the fall. We talked about that the other day. The buzzbait is real popular here in the South in the fall, because the shad are ganging up in the backs of creeks, and you can catch them in shallow water with a buzzbait. So some things to think about. You might want to try your toads, your frogs, that kind of thing.
Okay, and that leads me to the next one from Wesley is wondering your favorite chatterbait trailer, since you had mentioned that.
Well, I like to swim on that it kind of took the place of everything the other year when we came out with that. I had used some other things in the past, but that swim on is really hard to beat. It is just developed so well for that bait. You just get that allure, that head shaking left to right, that tail's going like a fish behind it, and everybody I've talked to that is fishing that just loves it. And obviously by our sales, I would say probably without hesitation in the last year, that's been our #1 selling bait. I mean, it just took the world by storm. So if you haven't tried that swim on, the 425 Kamikaze swim on, you need to try that. It comes in a big gambit of colors. Me and Jordan did a show back, I guess it's almost been a year now, Jordan, where we matched up all the colors on jackhammers, and you basically can find a color to match whatever color chatterbait you've got. So just take a look and see.
Yeah, maybe we should do that show again.
We might want to come back and rerun that show, Jordan, just for the fun of it. That was pretty good. They're still hanging up here behind me on the wall.
Yeah, they
definitely. So good.
I got one more for you.
All right, good. Man, this has been great.
So Dakota Pat is wondering, which bait is doing the best for you right now?
Right now, I'm using this big boy right here. This is the one I like to use this time of year. I'm catching fish on this as I'm fishing right now. This is the one. If you're not trying this, that's with the big anvil type head. That's the go-to right now.
So what weight is that?
That's a particular's a half ounce, but depending on how deep you're going with it, I don't ever go more than 3/4 ounce, but I like either half or 3/4 in it.
Okay.
All right.
We sure appreciate it.
Yeah, that's great, man. So what we're going to try to do next week, we kind of planned on doing that today, but we had some Instagram problems and we had the holiday. Next week, we're going to do a show just on question and answer. So get your questions ready. You can send them in early to Jordan, and that way we'll have some to get started. And as we get started, some more questions can come in, and we'll try to answer what we can. We're not pros here. We're just trying to tell you what we think how our baits will work the best. And, we try to use what little bit of experience we've got and try to make things go. So definitely check back with us next week and let's talk about it and get your questions in. Until then, y'all have a good week.